It took me 15 hours to beat Assassin's Creed Mirage, and I can say confidently that this is the easiest Assassin's Creed ever. And in this video, I'm going to detail the 3 reasons why. I feel like these should be obvious to anyone who has played Mirage, but if you're sitting on the fence as to whether or not to pick this up, that's all going to depend on the type of AC game you prefer. Think of Mirage as a legacy title. There's little to no bloat to speak of, and outside of its skill trees, there's no RPG elements. If that appeals to you, then I can easily recommend this title, even with the game being as easy as it is. With that being said, let's dive right in. To kick things off, the removal of level gating means that every single enemy is as susceptible to assassinations as everyone else. In the recent Assassin's Creed games, every area had a recommended level, and if you were below that, it became practically impossible to assassinate them, which was a major deviation from the series' original formula. But because Mirage falls back to simpler mechanics, enemies are no longer spongy and can all be killed fairly easily. The enemy type doesn't matter either. Elites fall just as easily as a lowly city guard, and because certain tools like the smoke bomb are overpowered, the challenge is even lessened. The world is completely open to you after the opening sections of the game, and I believe that the removal of level gates for Mirage is a great thing because you once again feel like a well-trained assassin.
That coward stench. I will grind. That's right, dog.
Next up, let's talk about the enemy AI. Now, the Assassin's Creed games have never really had great AI in the first place, and Mirage is no different. If you happen to modernize your gameplay and have everyone at the same level, it's probably in your game's best interest to have smarter or at least competent AI. That's not the case here. This AI is honestly as bad as Deathloop and Starfield, in which enemies in those games could be just seen as minor obstacles. You would think that getting caught in the stealth title would increase the difficulty exponentially, but in the case of Mirage, you would be wrong. The moment you get caught, just create a bit of distance and find cover. You don't even have to go that far. Enemies will shortly lose aggro, and before you know it, you're back in business. What's wild to me is that Mirage includes a mechanic in which enemies will move to your last known position. You would think that these enemies would be cautious moving into that area and would even think about striking that covered area before moving into it, but they don't. They just wander toward it unsuspectingly, and this allows you to chain assassinations because other enemies don't react to their comrades getting pulled into the bushes right in front of them. There are moments where the AI will just completely bug out of combat. This is near the end of the game, and as you can see, the stairs were the real enemy here. In fact, I've gotten into combat with elite enemy types, and I ran into a few instances where they don't even fight back once you hit them from behind. Maybe the first strike in the back forced them to realize that they were dead already. I don't know, it's just very strange to me. With those 2 reasons out of the way, let's now highlight the biggest reason as to why Assassin's Creed Mirage is the easiest in the series, and that is due to the inclusion of the Assassin's Focus. If you've ever played Splinter Cell Conviction or Blacklist, you'll know about the mark and execute mechanic that allowed you to eliminate enemies in quick succession, and if you remember, that mechanic was pretty overpowered because of how quickly it could clear a room. The Assassin's Focus is essentially that, but with the added bonus that it can be used as a traversal tool. In all of the AC games, being able to get to the high ground to scout was essential. There were times, however, where certain rooftops or areas felt like they were out of reach. In those instances, you could just snipe enemies with a bow. In Mirage, just activate focus, and now you have the high ground. Now listen, I don't believe the focus mechanic is broken, but I believe that in a game like this, it is completely overpowered. It only costs 1 part to activate, and assassinating enemies will quickly fill that bar. This feels, in a way, like an ultimate ability. One that should only be used sparingly because of how strong it is, but with all the enemies on the same playing level and being as dumb as they are, you can use the focus as often as you want, just as long as you're not in combat. And that makes sense. If you were able to use this in combat, it would absolutely break the game. Combat is already super simple, and parrying pretty much leads to a one-hit kill like the older Assassin's Creed games. I'm glad there are some restrictions on the focus, but the distance it covers is ridiculous and makes an already easy game that much easier. Listen, if you happen to play Mirage without the focus, the game feels like a traditional Assassin's Creed game, which to me is great because I firmly believe that this is a solid throwback. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, and I highly doubt Ubisoft will return to this formula because of where the main franchise currently sits, so if you happen to play Mirage, just kind of enjoy it while you can. If you want other reasons as to why I believe Mirage is the easiest Assassin's Creed game, look no further than the current mission structure. Outside of maybe 1 or 2 missions, you'll never get lost. Killing certain targets is incredibly easy, whether you use the focus or not, and the missions involving the hidden ones all end the same regardless of how you choose to infiltrate. Combine this with the atrocious AI and the removal of level gating, and the challenge simply just isn't there. Now, that doesn't mean that AC Mirage is a bad game, but it is one that will rarely challenge you. I like to think of this as that Assassin's power fantasy. That's pretty much how I view Mirage because of just how capable you are in this game and just how easy it is to kind of breeze through certain sections. And that's going to do it for this video. If you happen to like the content, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. Leave a comment below if you've played Assassin's Creed Mirage, and let me know what you think of its difficulty. Is it the easiest in the series? Do you find it somewhere in the middle? Tell me why, and just let me know because I really feel like this is the easiest game in the series by far. I'm Ken from Pixelated Thoughts, and I'll talk to you next time.